Okay. Okay, so we're quickly going to make a video about what's happening because there's quite a few changes happening and we thought it would be interesting to share what's going on.
And to look back on where we started, kind of thing, and see how it develops.
Yeah, because we've previously done things that were quite different and we haven't really made any videos about it, and I think it's actually more for us that we would find interesting to look back on like that.
Yeah.
At the moment, we're in Vietnam, and this was Megan's room for a year while I wasn't here, and now she's finishing school. So, how does that feel?
I think I'm used to to a lot of changes. Like, we've gone through a lot of teaching contracts and a lot of new beginnings, and not just starting a new job, but starting in a completely different place, in a completely different culture, and moving around a lot. And even though that's what's happening again now, it's still very different because I'm not going into something that is known. So previously I might have gone into from one teaching contract into another one and knowing what that's gonna be, but then this time I don't really have that. I don't know, I have to I'm learning to let go of things and let go of control.
Because previously, like you said, you were moving to a different job, so you still had the known of you're going to be a teacher still, and there's going to be a classroom, and you're going to have a place to stay. But now that you're actually leaving teaching, this is a different experience because you're going into a situation where it's very unknown how it's going to work out, because we're not going to have necessarily a place to stay that is fixed all the time.
Yeah, or a fixed income that this is coming, because when you're working online, anyone can say, oh, next month we don't need you. And I suppose that's with any kind of business. You never know if you're your own business owner.
Yeah.
You don't know what your income's going to be.
And then, how was it teaching in Vietnam? How was that experience?
It was...
Briefly.
It was a very different but positive experience. It was my first time teaching English as an additional language extra class kind of thing. So that was very different to what I'm used to, because I'm qualified to teach at international schools, and that was just a really interesting experience, because I had always kind of thought oh, this is something that I wouldn't want to do. I put it off for so long, saying oh, that's not what I want, but then it was so good to teach in that way, and to have a little bit of hours of teaching, and to have so many different classes that you only teach them for a short time, and also because I was here alone, so that was a really interesting experience as well.
Yeah, because it was the first time you came to a new country on your own, and that whole experience, we should definitely
and lived alone, kind of, even though I'm in a shared house, but it was my first time not having anyone with me.
Yeah, and we should definitely do a video sometime where we talk about only the teaching experience coming here on your own and that kind of thing.
And maybe another one on being alone.
Yeah.
Because that was a very big thing for me. Even when I lived back home in South Africa, I lived with my parents and would and then moved straight in with Dylan, and was so afraid to be alone. Not alone necessarily in the sense only of being alone because you would be lonely, but also in the sense of fear of afraid of everything basically, and people breaking in and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting just to talk about that if you have any questions.
Yeah.
So let's first talk about how our way of seeing life and getting more into a flow, and getting, just by traveling a lot, and especially living in Asia, how you get used to just going with the flow, and how if things don't work out or if you choose something different, you just flow with it, and you're not always planning everything all the time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like how we have been thinking over the past while, and we hadn't really decided like what we were gonna do today, which is the last day that I'm here at school, what we were gonna do.
I think even like this time last week, we were still in like 3 or 4 minds about what we're actually doing.
And not in a stressful way or a confused way, just in a way that we were like really exploring all the options and thinking, oh, we could do this, or oh, let's do this, or what about this kind of thing. So that was not at all like a stressful experience or us being worried. That was just like a fun process of deciding, and we only kind of decided like 4 days ago what we were doing.
Right, so the first 2 ideas was we're going to go visit my dad who lives in Laos, which is the country just next to Vietnam, and we were deciding how we would get there. So we would either be taking a bus or we would fly, and then we checked the prices of the flights and the bus, and it was obviously a lot cheaper to take the bus. But then after chatting a bit with my dad as well, and he gave a suggestion of of another idea what we could do is to buy an old motorbike and ride there on the motorbike. So about 4 days ago, we sort of thought about that plan again, and I drove 2 hours from here to a bigger town and bought a second-hand motorbike. It was really cheap. I mean, for a motorbike, it was $200, and it came with like 2 helmets, and it's really old, but it's a kind of bike that can be fixed up really easily along the way, so we won't have any problems with that. I mean, we'll have problems with a bike, but we won't have problems with being able to get it fixed.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, so we've decided to leave half of our stuff here in Vietnam, and we will just take with what we need for the bike trip, which is, because I'm a photographer and I shoot like video things, is probably more than what the average person would take, but
Whoa, really?
I don't know. So we've got like 2 bags. It looks like a lot more because we've sort of unpacked stuff here, but there's 2 backpacks and this blue bag. Well, first we're going to spend the first few days in Vietnam still, because we have time left on our visa, and then we're going to go over to Laos. And I think we don't know exactly where we're going. Like even when we spoke about yesterday, we said when we leave out of like Quang, the town we're in now, are we going left or are we going right? And it kind of still is like that. Like we know where we're going to go just for tonight, but after that we're sort of going to just take it as it goes.
Yeah, we want to take it easy to kind of like see how things go and figure it out without having like any kind of schedule, because that's not what we have anymore, which is really cool.
And then the last thing is that obviously if anyone already like knows about us, we have a dog. His name's Charlie.
We adopted her in Costa Rica when I was teaching there. So she lives in Panama with a very good friend who's taking such good care of her, and we're really excited to get back to her in December. So we have like 4 months.
Yeah. So at this stage we can't really afford to go to Panama like right now, because we need to get things more sorted out with work and maybe like save a bit, because the flights are a little bit expensive. Because if you have to look at a globe and where Vietnam is and where Panama is, it is literally on the opposite side. So there's not really a place that's like further away than flying to where we need to go.
Yeah.
So the plan is to get there in the beginning of December, and this is sort of going to be a little bit of a let's see how we do it.
And it's also not like, oh, I wonder how things are going to work out. It's like a feeling of knowing that they will, because we've been in so many situations that were not necessarily challenging, but there was just a lot of unknown things that were going to happen, and they always work out, and it's just like a trusting that that will happen.
Yeah.
But it will always work out.
Yeah. So I think that's it for now. What we're going to do now is leave and turn right.
Is it right?
That way and then right. I think.
I don't know. Well, we know the general direction. If you have any questions, let us know. It's good to share this with
Yeah.
a larger audience.
Yeah, which at the moment is like 0 subscribers. Hi, Mom. Okay. Bye.